Hello, I'm just some guy who found a microphone and learned how to use Sony Vegas, and this is a review of The Road to El Dorado. We start with...
Today, we sail to conquer the new world.
Are those lines from a true voice actor?
For Spain. For glory. For gold.
Oh my god, no way. Wait, there's two of them? This is good. This is something I've always wanted. A major studio casting actual voice actors in an animated film. Screw the review! The movie gets 10 out of 10 on that merit alone. Oh, wait. Jim gets like 5 lines. And Frank is the horse. Never mind. I'm disappointed again. Anyways, show must go on. We get 2 gamblers, Miguel and Tulio. And you get kind of an idea about what kind of people they are right off the bat.
Miguel, if I believed in fate, I wouldn't be playing with loaded dice.
They get caught.
He gave me loaded dice! Guard, arrest him!
But manage to improvise their way out of the situation. In doing so, they unknowingly stow away on a ship captained by Cortez.
My crew was as carefully chosen as the disciples of Christ.
And by that, I assume you mean that 1 in 12 would betray you for a few coins. Not like conquistadors were famous for their religious fanaticism or anything, so I'll just let that slide. Miguel and Tulio get thrown in the brig. They're a couple of skilled rogues, however, and they're used to situations like this. They escape and make their way to land without any problems at all.
These things come.
After hitting land and some brief discussion, we get our first song.
Changing legend into fact, we shall ride into history.
It's not the best, but it's entertaining enough, I guess. It just seems like someone really wanted to have an Explorer montage, so we get an Explorer montage. They end up at El Dorado. It's a, well, I'll just let Tulio take this one.
Great big rock!
From out of the fog comes a thief being chased by soldiers. They capture her, as well as the 2 rogues, and the soldiers bring all of them through the secret waterfall entrance that's in every video game, but no real-world location.
El Dorado.
Much to their surprise, the High Priest assumes that the 2 are gods.
My lords, I am Zekelkon.
Then he reveals that he's the evil guy in this story.
How would you have us punish her?
Then he does it again.
Visit your wrath upon this non-believer. Show us the truth of your divinity.
Miguel and Tulio are escorted to a temple where they will be staying and are offered a choice between having a feast or a celebratory ceremony.
Both is good.
After the priest and chief leave and the 2 are laughing about their good fortune, the thief reveals herself again.
Julio and Miguel, mighty and powerful gods.
Hello.
It's at about this point when I'm asking why nobody has made an El Dorado fan video with no church in the wild as its backing. Seriously, we've got human beings in a mob. What's a mob to a king? What's a king to a god? What's a god to a non-believer who don't believe in anything?
Beware the wrath of the gods. Be God!
Save it for the High Priest, honey. You're gonna need it.
We've got a feast happening in the near future, and you just know by the end of this there's gonna be lies on the lips of a priest. Someone better get on this right now. The thief, named Chell, wants to join the scam. The boys, not knowing anything about this culture, let her in on it.
Deal?
Deal. Not yet.
Let's just see how this works out.
And they make an agreement.
Chell is off limits. Shake on it.
Off limits.
Song number 2 comes during the feast. It's fun, but it still has some major issues. As far as music form goes, it's really strange. You can clearly tell where the chorus starts, but I cannot, for the life of me, tell if it ever really ends before the next chorus comes up. It's also imbued with linguistic eccentricities, identified as a practice with intention to bemuse its patrons, endeavoring to be perceived as academic. Sorry about that, here's a translation. It tries to show off using fancy words.
Sanctified
In the morning, the ceremony is to take place. Here is where the villain reveals that he's the villain for... what is it? I think it's the 4th time? He wants a human sacrifice, but the two stop him before it goes through.
The stars are not in position for this tribute. Stars! Can't do it. Not today.
Shortcut to Cortez arriving on land. Back to the boys. They talk about how much money they're going to make from this con,
We just became richer than the King of Spain.
and how they only want to stay a short time before bringing the gold back to Spain. Which brings up the question.
How are we gonna get all this back to Spain?
So they ask for a boat, but it'll take 3 days for the chief to make one. Tulio and Miguel, mutually, agree to lie low for 3 days until they can leave safely.
All right. We lie low.
Yeah, promise?
Yeah. All right.
Miguel breaks this agreement in a record-breaking 38 seconds. Tulio, not to be outdone, breaks their other agreement. What was that again?
Chala's off limits.
Yeah, that one. You go, DreamWorks. You earned that PG rating. Miguel goes around exploring the city, but finds nobody in the streets. Supposedly because he ordered it.
They've been cleared from the streets, my lord, so the city can be cleansed, as you ordered.
But of course it wasn't him, it was Sekal Khan.
Sekal Khan has made your commands clear, my lord.
He brings out the civilians and we get song number 3. This is probably the best one yet, and you get to see Miguel fall in love with the city and its people. Sekal Khan sees this, and goes up to the temple to lecture Tulio about how Miguel is hanging out with humans, and he keeps trying to push his really weird fascination with sacrifice.
Now, do you wish to have your victims bound to an altar, or would you prefer them free range? And will you be devouring their essence whole, or piece by piece?
Tulio and Sekal Khan find Miguel playing ball with some kids, and Sekal takes it upon himself to organize a game against professionals instead. And so the two get crushed. That is, until they decide to cheat by using a rather kind and intelligent armadillo. After their win, Sekal Khan cannot get over his obsession and demands the sacrifice of the losing team. Miguel finally gets angry enough to scold Sekal Khan and tells him to leave. On his way out, he notices a stream of blood down Miguel's face from an injury on the field. Why is that important?
Because gods don't bleed.
Sekal Khan is gonna go do evil stuff now because he was holding back oh so well beforehand. At the dock, their boat is ready to go, but Miguel shows signs that he doesn't want to leave yet. In the temple, Tulio and Shell are making deals,
I want you to come to Spain with me and Miguel. Mostly me.
before things devolve into breaking deals. Again. Shortcut to the evil guy doing predictably evil things. Back to Miguel and Tulio, we get some passive-aggressive quarreling.
How about we forget the plan?
That is until Kitty Cat over here makes an entrance. So we get a game of cat and mouse. They're cornered at the spot where the first sacrifice was to take place by Sekal Khan's kitten mech. Miguel and Tulio start to bicker. Parts of it fake,
You're not a god? You lied to me?
parts of it sincere.
You're buying your own con!
At least I'm not dating mine.
And Sekal lets them talk because he is the most trope-afflicted character in the world.
Fine. Okay. All right.
Like any trope-afflicted villain, he is then defeated by his own actions. Tropes, being a creativity parasite, require a host to latch onto, so they expend all their effort to keep Sekal Khan alive so he can meet up with the other baddie, Cortez. Our two rogues, having defeated their enemy, continue their passive-aggressive feud in our fourth song.
Friends never say goodbye.
It's pretty good, but it's not much to write home about. Tulio and Shell are prepared to leave on their boat full of gold, and Miguel is going to stay and be worshipped as a god. They then learn that Sekal Khan is leading Cortez to the city, so they need a plan.
We'll crash the boat into the pillars.
To get enough speed for this, they're gonna need to break stuff. The plan starts to falter a bit, but Miguel shows up to save the day, looking like the god he was going to be worshipped as. They lose all the gold, but they collapse the cave entrance so Cortez can't get in.
There is no El Dorado here.
And the movie closes as they ride off into the sunset. The road to El Dorado is absolutely riddled with overdone tropes and a thoroughly contrived plot. The comedy is passable, but it has its fair share of misses as well. In addition to that, there are musical numbers that are lucky to be described as anything more than filler, and distracting CG animation among the sometimes good but sometimes awkward hand-drawn animation. Seriously, what's Miguel doing here? Sekal Khan is a bit too repetitive to be enjoyable as a villain for too long. He has a preoccupation with human sacrifice, and while it might be historically appropriate, it's made clear he's the only one who really endorses the practice. Even so, it's the only thing he ever talks about. On the other hand, Cortez doesn't even have enough time to establish himself as a villain whatsoever. He's more of a plot device than a character. There are all kinds of small problems with this movie, and if I went into more detail, we'd be here all night. I don't care if you're watching this at 8 AM, we would still be here all night. And yet, I still like this movie. It all comes down to our two leading men. Their dialogue is a lot of fun to listen to, and their characters are handled very well straight out of the gate. In the very first scene, you can see that Miguel is the one drawn to flights of fancy, and Tulio, on the other hand, is pragmatic and reasonable. Yes, this is a common juxtaposition between main characters, but here you can tell from the very beginning and entirely outside of dialogue. As with everything, it's entirely in the execution. While a lot of other stuff is sloppy, these two are handled really well. Overall, this movie relies on its characters more than the plot, so it still works out okay. Not as well as it could have, but still okay. That being said, with these two, I'd trade an adventure movie for a sitcom in a heartbeat.
Human beings in a mob. What's a mob to a king? What's a king to a god? What's a god to a non-believer?
Next time, I'll be covering a movie about musical birds.